Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. So this should be a nice straightforward job. Got a bucket in, needs a new wear edge across the front, and it's a few cracks and it needs plating across the back. So should be nice and straightforward. So I'll cut the edge off first. What I usually do, or what I used to do with these edges, is just run a slitting disc on the grinder all the way through that weld. But it takes a fair bit of time and it's quite hard work. So now I've got a hand torch for me, a big plasma that I use on my CNC table. What I'm going to do, I think, is I'm just going to run the plasma down the back of that weld, just chop that weld off completely, and then gouge these ends off. And then I'm hoping that it's not fully seam welded down the back. So then I'll just gouge them welds out, just like stitch welded down the back. And hopefully that'll be a quicker way of taking them off. Usually when you do them with the grinder, if you chop them all off with the grinder, it's usually like an hour and a half to chop them off and get it all cleaned up, ready for the new one to go back on. So see how long it takes me to do it with the plasma. So I've got that clamped on there. I'll use that as a straight edge to cut down, then I'll have to move it on when I do that bit. So the time now is 10 past 10. So we'll see how long it takes us to cut this off. Right, so I've got cut down there, I've gouged through them, I changed over onto the gouging nozzles, gouged through that end, gouged through there. You can see it's starting to crack off now, so that's all that free, and that's taken me just over 20 minutes. So yeah, I'm starting to really like them gouging nozzles. Torch is, it's a P130, it's like a copy of a Hypertherm, but that's what the tacked plasmas come with, and it does take Hypertherm consumables. You can put Hypertherm nozzles. I think the Electros are different, but these are the same, they're the same, and the nozzles are the same, and the swirl rings as well. So what I'll do now is I'll turn the bucket upside down and then gouge the welds off down the back of the edge. So it's upside down now, you can see it's welded across there. There's a bit in the middle there, across there, and then the same all the way down. You can see these wear plates have worn off at the back. And then, like, floor's cracked. So I'll have to sort that out, maybe put some new wear strips on. So that's that edge completely off now. So I just need to give that a quick clean up with the grinder, square the ends off. So that's all ground down, cleaned up now, and that's taken me, well, it's taken me about bang on an hour. It's 10 past 11 now. So if I was just putting a new edge on, that half an hour that I've saved would go, be a long way to nearly welding it on now, but because I've got to sort this lot out, I think grinders do definitely still have the place, but it's like old technology now, chopping stuff up with grinders. So I'm just thinking what to do with these. I think because of one through there, I'm just going to chop them off and make some new ones. There's only a few welds to gouge out. Them end ones I think will be alright, because that one's bent as well. I'll just chop them off and start again. Right, so that's all ground down. I needed to gun it off to get rid of all the scaly rust. I've gouged through them cracks, opened them out a bit. That'll need pulling back. But I'm not going to weld them up yet. I'm going to weld them up from the other side. So I can't do any more at the moment because I'm waiting for the edge to come and I'm waiting for the steel to come for these. But what I'll do, I'll chop that one off because that one was cracked. They're alright, so I'll just sort of overlap that a little bit and then put some weld across there. But then when I put them on, then I'll also press some plates to go over here. So it'll be like across there, folded down across there. And then I'll weld these cracks up back from the other side. And the plate that I put over here will be like a backer. So then it'll all be welded onto the plate that I put over that, which should make it stronger. If I just weld that up again now, it'll probably just crack again. So at least if it's welded to the extra bit that I put over there, it should make it stronger. So there is also some cracks on the inside, on the bottom of there, which I need to gouge out and weld up, but I'll do that when it's the right way up again. But yeah, I don't want to keep turning it over and back over and over and back over again, so I think for now I'll leave that until the steel and the edge turns up. So while I wait for the steel to come for that, I think this afternoon I'm going to do a bit of milling. I've got the end plate out of my line borer, and I'm going to mill it down to there. I did put it in the lathe and try doing it with a parting tool, but it was too much for it, so I've got it sat on the mill using a big cutter. I'll just keep milling off the top. I've got end of my line borer sort of milled down. I didn't really record any more of it because I was just tinkering on. There's a bit there where you can still see when I drilled through it to start with, it didn't quite drill through square, so there's a bit there that's left. And then annoying, when I was doing this last bit, I wasn't paying attention and I went too far back into there, so there's a little mistake there, but it looks a lot better than it did. It's a lot lighter than it was as well. It's only 2 bolts wide now instead of 3, so a little bit of weight reduction. So my flat bar has arrived this morning, so I'm cut off what I need for them bottom strips, and the wear edge has arrived as well, so I can get on with this again now. Right, so that's the bucket edge we're putting on. So it's a 200 by 25, so it's 200mm that way and then 25mm thick, and it's a HB 500. It doesn't actually need any cutting off the length, but we'll grind down on the top of it where I'm going to be welding, get that cleaned up, then we'll have to flip the bucket back over again, upside down. So I've got that new edge sat on there now, but because the floor is bent, there's a dip in the middle. So it's like a 12mm dip in the middle. That bit of plate will go right underneath it. So when you try and clamp the edge down to the floor, it just puts a bow in the edge. It pulls the edge down to the floor rather than the floor up to the edge. So I need to try and get that straightened out a bit. So I've just been to Machine Mart to get one of these porta packs so I can push the floor back out with it. I put a post on Instagram on my story asking where I could get one from, so thanks to everyone that recommended Machine Mart. So I've got one now. So I'll get that ram set up and we'll put that ram from the top of the bucket pushing onto the floor, see if we can push the floor back out a bit. I've got some legs tacked onto the side of the bucket and clamped on. The forklift's under there as well, so can't fall over. So that straightened it a bit. That won't fit underneath it like it would do before. So I think I'll give it a few more presses on here. Well, I was trying to press this bend out the floor to start with. I wasn't expecting it to straighten that bit, but it has done. So I'll give it a few more presses here. See if I can get that out a bit more. It might pull that up a bit. If not, then I'll weld a block right to the floor of the bucket and then put the ram in like diagonal and then stretch that floor out a bit. It's just when you try and clamp it down, it pulls the edge. It still pulls the edge down to the floor rather than the other way, and you end up with a bow in the edge. So that's about done it now. It's clamped up there without bowing the edge. I've got a little bit of a bow the other way now in there, but I can pull that down with the strap and it should pull the floor flat. I'm not too worried about that. I'm more worried about getting it straight across the edge. So I think that's done its job. I think we can take that out now, and then we'll tack this edge on and then put the press. Oh, that's one of the shorter ones, but put the press on the longer one and then got all them tacked on. I think with this one I'll just have to winch the floor back in a little bit. It's with that side, I put that bit of box section on, clamped it at the front there, put my bar in there and pulled it down, and the floor popped. And then it touches this end, touches that end. It's relatively straight. Them bits there I can just prise up with the pry bar, tack the pry bar on. But yeah, I can't do it with this side. My bit of box section is not strong enough. It's just bowing the bit of box. So I think I'll just put a little winch in there and just pull it back a little bit. I've got them tacked on. The middle one is sort of bowed down a little bit when I let the pressure off. That one's sort of up over, that one's sort of up over, but I think the floor is stretched when it's got bent. But it doesn't really affect the bucket at all, so that's not really going to matter. It's touching where I need to weld it. And the edge is nice and straight. Can't see because that clamp's sort of in the way, but the edge is nice and straight. A little bit in the middle. Might put the jack in when I weld it up, just to push it out a little bit. But yeah, no, that's all right. I'm going to cut some strips out now to fold, to weld along there. I was going to cut them out by hand, but I thought it'd be quicker doing it with this, so I've got it as well, so I might as well use it. So I've got some plate on there. We'll get them cut out. So I've got them pressed and ground down, so I'll tack them on now. I'm not going to weld them up yet. I'm going to put these plates over the top and then weld them back up from the other side. And then it'll weld the crack up and it'll also weld it through onto this as well. Right, so I've got all that welded up. Doesn't look like much weld to me, but that's how it was a standard. Well, that's how it was originally, so that's just what I've redone again. The edge doesn't need welded. Some people weld the edges on all the way down the back, but for this type of bucket, they don't need it. It just makes them more awkward to get them off next time. So yeah, just stitch weld that on, stitch weld them on, then I've fully welded them round. Yeah, nothing fancy, just your average new metal to old metal type of weld. Some places didn't quite fit up very well where it was like delved in the floor, so I just braided it down with a hammer, but yeah, the rest of them fit alright. That one at that end I had to braid down with a hammer as well. But yeah, well that's everything finished underneath now, so we can turn it over and do the bit on the inside that needs doing, and then weld the edge on the other side. So we've got them to sort out as well now, all them cracks to weld up. Same on that one. So I'll gouge them out. They probably won't weld up very well because it's like double skin there, and it'll be full of water and rust and crap behind, you know, between the two layers of steel. So I'll do my best to weld them up, and then I'll make some plates as well, I think, to plate round them to come down sort of down to the floor, and then we'll weld them up back through, like I said, onto them plates that we put in from the other side, and then there's just the edge to weld on once we've got them done. So I've gouged that out. You can see behind it is just rust. So it's not going to weld to that very well. The other side is the same, but I've sort of managed to gouge off the top surface of rust with the gouger. So if I clean that up, hopefully that might weld a bit better. I'll do the same with this one and try and just take away the top layer. At least when it's rusty, it's easy to separate the two layers because it sort of doesn't bite into the rust very well. Right, so they were horrible to weld up. I was not enjoying myself at all doing them. I've got them cracks welded up. I welded them up them quite high power, so it burnt all the way through. So I'm not too bothered about them not being brilliant because I'm going to patch over them anyway. So I think I'll cut some patches out now to go over both of them. This looks worse than it is because it's where that sheet comes down and joins onto this one. So there's like, that's a weld across there. So it looks like it's like worn away, or it looks like there's a dip there, but it's because of where the sheets join each other. So with these patches, I think I'm going to do two. So it'll come down like that, both sides, obviously with it cut out like that for that bit. And that'll patch over that crappy bit. Then I'll do another patch over the top of this one, sort of like that, but not quite as big. Like that, and then that'll weld onto there, onto that patch, and then all that crappy bit there. Shouldn't be relying on that bit anymore. So it looked like that. One patch and then another one over the top. So we'll cut them out with the same bit of plate. It's 5mm is that I'm cutting bits out of. Right, so that's them welded in. That was not very fun at all. Sort of you're reaching right in over the bucket, sort of in there. You're grinding, you're covering yourself in sparks and getting hot bits all over you. You can't really get in very well to grind them bits out around there, but anyway, that's them in. That's them cracks welded up. So there's only the edge to weld on now. That's nice and easy just to weld that on. So we'll lift it up a bit, sit it on the trestles so it's a bit higher up, more comfortable to weld. We'll blow out, crap out with the airline and get that welded on. Obviously welding them in across the back has pulled the floor up a little bit because now when you look down the edge, it's got a bow in it. So we'll put the porta pack in the middle, press it back the other way a bit. Hopefully when I weld it up it'll not have a bow in it. So that's the edge all welded on. Welded on nice to that compared to the rest of it. So that's cooled down now, so we can take that out. Hopefully it won't have a bow in it anymore. It'll look alright, there's a tiny bit of bow in it maybe, but we can live with that, it's not going to be a problem. So I'll take that out now, chop that box off. I might just spray a bit of red oxide around them bits of weld, and then on these bits across the back. I don't think there's any point spraying underneath because it's used for mucking out, so it's soon going to get rubbed off and blathered again. You see, there's no paint on the rest of it anymore. Right, so that's that all done. It should give the bucket another lease of life. By the time the edge is worn down, I think the floor will probably be worn out as well, so it is fairly solid still, but just a lot of surface rust on it. So that should put the strength back into there. They're never very good buckets when the brackets, I think they put these type of brackets on because they're cheap, just a top hook and a bottom hole. And then they put them in on the inside to try and get the strength back, but they always crack out around the bottom. That's looking down the edge from this end. So it looks nice and straight as that. Good enough for agriculture anyway, that's for sure.